Scary stories for the rain.
Another Day, Another Dollar. By you/ViktorGreyWrites. One more day down the drain, I told myself, continuing to dwindle down the remaining final hours of my workday. My boss never interacted with me anymore, and credit for my completed work kept getting stolen. I didn't know why I continued to come work here, but I was drawn to this place. This large office building. Something about it was special to me. I was probably the only person who felt this way. Lately, many people had up and quit, leaving the business to work elsewhere and seemingly being forgotten by the remaining workers. They appeared to be scared of something, maybe losing their jobs due to the business failing. I had no clue, but was pretty sure my job was secure. Hell, how could I get into trouble if the boss never spoke to me? I wondered about why I worked here as I picked up papers to store for everyone. While not part of my job title, I still helped with it so no one felt too far behind. Lately, though, I could see the stacks of papers were building on everyone's desks. As the final hour continued to drag on, I thought about how many people had quit and simply disappeared in recent time. 10? No, 20? This was a large office building and company, employing hundreds of people, but still it seemed like a significant chunk missing. I decided I would sit down and work on some of my writing projects. As I was lost in thought, my typewriter came to a grinding halt. Clunk. This damn thing was always failing and jamming. We had some spares in a nearby room, but I hated that place. Always smelt sickeningly sweet, and the scent accosted and burned my nostrils every time I needed supplies. I had told maintenance for weeks about the smell, but it was constantly ignored. They pretend that I didn't even exist. As I entered the room, I could smell that same annoying scent. An acid began to build in my throat. I tried not to gag, but suffered a coughing fit due to the strength of the stench. This was much worse than it had been previously. And all that was in the supply closet was racks of typewriters, paper, ink, and a lone file cabinet sitting on the corner. Had someone played some sort of sick prank and put some dead animal in the cabinet to mess with everyone? I could feel a lump rising in my throat as I approached the filing cabinet. I was sick and tired of waiting on maintenance. As I approached the cabinet, the smell was overwhelming, and I pulled out a handkerchief and covered my nose and mouth, extending my hand outward toward the cabinet's handle to pull it open from a distance. At first, it wouldn't open, but as I applied more pressure, the cabinet slowly slid. A dark red substance dripping out like thick custard from the sides of the drawer. I glanced inside briefly before turning my head and promptly vomiting on the floor. Human remains were stuffed in the filing cabinet. I saw human remains. My hand was shaking as I wiped bile from my mouth, but I needed to take a second look to confirm what I had seen. And as I looked back into the drawer, my eyes made contact with a face staring back at me. Mouth gaped open as fingers spewed from inside. The sight of the body would have been enough to cause anyone to freak out, but it wasn't the sign of human remains that caused a scream to stay still in my throat. It was the sight of my own face staring back at me from inside the drawer. What had originally began as disgust and fear quickly turned into panic. I felt myself dry heaving as I looked under the floor. I realized there was nothing there. Even though I had vomited moments earlier, nothing was there. And I looked at my handkerchief and saw it was clean. A pearly white. What the hell was happening? This couldn't be happening. I ran out of the room and began screaming, shouting through the office at anyone nearby. Hey! 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 Look at me! Look at me! No one seemed to notice my efforts to get their attention. I fell to the ground and felt my breath shortening into a whistling gasp as panic fully wrapped its arms around me. An unknown amount of time passed before I realized that it was not actually breathing, and the panic that I felt was causing little effect to my current form. I slowly stood on my feet, my emotions becoming dulled as I grew apathetic to my current situation. As I wandered the office space, increasingly engrossed with feelings of nothingness, I happened across my boss's office. I realized that it was quite late now, and everyone had already left, other than my boss. Well, not my boss anymore. How long had I been dead, I wonder? No one seemed to even
Care that I was gone.
I thought back and realized that no one even missed me.
Me or wondered where I went. Why should I be trapped this way?
Trapped to dwell in this hellhole that I
Dwindled my life away and for nothing.
I shouldn't be the only one.
One to suffer. I won't.
I needed to know what I was capable of. I slowly walked through my boss's office, finding myself standing behind his neck. I wanted him to suffer. I wasn't afraid of what I'd wanted to do. I felt completely natural for some reason. My boss was completely unaware, reading a memo at his desk when he leaned backwards in his chair, yawning wide and stretching his arms outward. And then I shoved my arm deep inside of his throat up to my elbow. The surprised look on his face caused me to smile, the grin widening on my face as he choked and gasped for breath. Gripping his necktie, trying to loosen it, it was clear he didn't know what was happening. And moments later, his eyes rolled back and he fell unconscious. And the grin slowly faded from my face as I wondered what to do with the body. How could I finish this? It came to me quickly. The record storage rooms. I was able to lift his body with ease, carrying him over my shoulder and out of the office. I thought back to my own body and wondered how I would get him to fit in a filing cabinet. I arrived at the record storage room, seeing filing cabinets line the walls. No one ever came down here. It was only when they had to file paperwork on the rare occasion when I wasn't available to do it for them. I went to the far wall and pulled open the drawer. To my surprise, there was already human remains inside. A congealed, bloody mess of limbs was mashed inside the drawer. I dropped his body and quickly began to pull open all the drawers nearby. They were all full of body parts and blood. What had happened? Is someone else here besides me? Killing people? I don't understand. I could feel panic begin to well up inside of me once again when suddenly a voice spoke out from behind me. Don't be afraid, James. You still have work to do. Please, continue. I quickly spun on my heels to see a tall black figure standing in the corner. The only part of him illuminated was a large, bright smile sitting still slightly agape as the creature faced forward. A long finger was pointed at the boss's body before it slowly moved back up to its mouth, pointing straight up.
Get back to work, James.
Figure moved one hand from behind its back, holding a rusty hacksaw. The hacksaw flew through the air from the figure's outstretched hand, landing at my feet. My vision faded to black as I slowly got down and picked up the hacksaw. As I opened my eyes, I stared forward at my typewriter. I must have dozed due to how boring my work was. What had woken me up? My own snoring? I swear I heard someone sighing. I sighed as I thought about how much I hated my job. My boss hadn't spoken to me in weeks. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. Well, how can I get in trouble if no one talks to me? I guess I'll just keep working on this current project. I started typing away rapidly on my typewriter when it suddenly jammed.
Clunk.
Where was that storage closet again? Hello there, YouTube. Stormy here. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what you liked about it. And if there are any more stories that you would like me to do, make sure to comment those down below as well, and I will be more than glad to check them out. Now, you folks have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you in the next video. If we all survive.